Okay, well, hello. My name is Andrew Lowe. I'm the independent chair of the Child Protection Committee and the Adult Protection Committee for Orkney, which means that I'm an independent person who chairs the partnership between NHS Orkney, Orkney Islands Council, Police Scotland, and a range of voluntary and other organisations who come together to protect children. Through this role, I've been asked today to chair the conference Growing Up in Orkney. This is the second annual conference Growing Up in Orkney, and it is another tremendous success. We've been able to attract two outstanding keynote speakers, Bruce Adamson, the recently appointed Children's Commissioner, who brings a wealth of experience on human rights. He's a lawyer, comes from New Zealand, but he's had 13 years in Scotland talking about children and working in their interests. And we've had Professor Jennifer Davidson, who is an academic from the University of Strathclyde, whose whole career is about a research interest in how we care for children who are looked after publicly by the state, either fostered or residentially cared for, and how we make the best of that. And I could see in the delegates' faces the great excitement that they felt from these contributions that have taken us to Africa, to New Zealand. We've had a quote in Maori language. We've been able to think internationally and locally, importantly locally, because Orkney, of course, isn't Glasgow, it isn't Edinburgh, it's unique, and our children have unique needs. And this conference is really our attempt to look at the world, to get all of the experience we can from the wider world and apply it together with our local knowledge to make Growing Up in Orkney a wonderful experience.
My name's Bruce Adamson. I'm the Children and Young People's Commissioner for Scotland. My job is to promote and safeguard the rights of everyone up to the age of 18 or up to 21 if you've got care experience, and that's recognising the additional obligations that we have to those children that are care experienced. I'm independent of government and I have a lot of protection to allow me to actually speak up and speak truth to power on behalf of children and young people. I've been in Orkney for about 24 hours now, and it's been absolutely amazing. I've been with one of the MSYPs and meeting a lot of children and young people in Orkney. I've been to a couple of primary schools and secondary school and youth cafe and to connect, and some other places to meet some of the children and young people. And I've been absolutely blown away by the beauty up here. It's my first time that I visited, but also the passion and energy and excitement and great ideas that the children and young people of Orkney have, and that's the best part of my job. And then I need to take that and take those ideas and speak to those that are in power and try and get change for children and young people. Some of the issues that were coming up really strongly were with transport, particularly with some of the younger ones who are really reliant on public transport and saying that they're not very happy with particularly the buses. And this is really important as a rights issue, because good public transport is really essential in order to access education, healthcare, but also the social things, meeting their friends and engaging in clubs, which are really important for childhood development. Also, a lot of talk about poverty and the effects of poverty on children and young people, and mental health came through very strongly, that children and young people were saying more needs to be done to support the mental health of children and young people across Orkney.
Hi, my name's Jennifer Davidson, and I'm the Executive Director of an institute called Inspiring Children's Futures, which is based in Glasgow at the University of Strathclyde. And I had such a privilege today to be asked to be one of the keynote speakers, and in my presentation I was talking about the tricky, complex aspects of what it means to really care for children and young people, particularly those who are facing adversity. And some of the things I shared really to raise questions rather than necessarily give clear answers were about how we can really make sure we're selecting staff who are great at relationships and relationship building with children and young people, and thinking through how children's rights really are realized only through the relationships that they have with the adults around them, and how big a responsibility that is then for us who are working in services and in different agencies working with families and children and young people. The importance of really putting a lot of emphasis on making sure staff are really supported to deliver those kind of really positive relationships that families need, and not be as distracted by things that might be less important, but that systems might say are important, but that actually the research would show that it's the quality of the relationship is the most important piece in the puzzle for us to be supporting families and children and young people. So that was probably the bulk of what it was that I was saying, and I drew on some stories of different families, both here in Scotland and in Canada from my home country and in Kenya. So it was a full sort of exploring of what does it mean to build relationships for children.
Hello there, I'm Jack Narquoy, and I'm one of Orkney's members of the Scottish Youth Parliament, and at the Scottish Youth Parliament I also sit on the board as a trustee. So I'm really happy to be here today for Orkney's second Growing Up in Orkney Conference, and absolutely delighted that we were joined by Scotland's Children and Young People's Commissioner Bruce Adamson. And I think this conference has been a tremendous step up from last year. Last year was a really positive start, but at this conference it's fantastic to see so many people. And I was particularly pleased that at the start of the conference today that the Orkney Youth Forum, along with other young people that's been involved with the Year of Young People and also Police Scotland's Young Volunteers programme, we gave a presentation about what's been happening in Orkney over the last year in terms of youth engagement. And I think from the reaction that I've gotten from people in the audience that I've spoken to, that it was really positive, and that they are seeing the great work that young people are doing in Orkney in terms of getting involved in decision making and just taking a stand in communities, doing hundreds and hundreds of hours of volunteering. So it's really important that at events like this we celebrate that and we recognise that. And as it is the Year of Young People, I'm particularly pleased that with the Youth Forum and other projects that we've got ongoing, that young people are not only just being heard, but we're meaningfully being a part of the decision making. We're being included in that process, which I think is a really positive thing being built upon in this special year, and I hope it continues to go from strength to strength.